What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. This is episode... Oh, man, I didn't write it down. Episode 29? What? Doot, doot, doot. Volume 81 of Season 3 here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. If you want to join us live, anyone who's on Twitter Space, or if you're going to get this on the podcast version, or maybe you're just busy doing all your Christmas shopping, thank you for joining us. This is Fighting Irish Faithful, a podcast powered by Scotch and Spreadsheets, and Notre Dame 8-4, and on par with what I kind of thought Marcus Freeman would do. So we're rallying here as we go into the bowl game. So many things to talk about. Anything from reminding you to go to Mass on Thursday, to our bowl game opponent coming up, to Drew Pyne news, to playoff expansion, to Buckner's going to potentially be playing again, to USC sucks, and if you want tickets to the Gator Bowl, I might be able to hook you up. So if you got some cash and you want to go to Jacksonville, hey, reach out to me. So I am joined by my co-worker. Well, I guess we're kind of co-workers when we do the podcast, right?
Well, in this, yeah, but I wouldn't consider it work.
No, this is way more fun. Yeah,
this is definitely fun.
The Etsy store, though, we did get a little bump a couple weeks ago with MJV84, who gave us a nice shout out on Max. That's right. Max had a huge smile on his face. It's like, man, dude. And then I kind of like felt bad because it's like I think I get asked a question when I post the podcast on YouTube. Is this made for children? And the answer is always no. Like CPS, like who lets their children listen to this? It's not a reflection of MJV84, but it's like, well, you're the parent. It's kind of up to you to decide that, not me. So I'm playing it safe.
It's the very uncensored version of what Notre Dame football really is.
That's right. We are the Notre Dame football that actually serves Guinness in the stadium, right?
That is a huge parenting win.
Even though we drink scotch.
Knowing what Notre Dame football really is.
Yeah, you know? That's right. This is real Notre Dame football, not what you listen to on ESPN or NBC. Well, Red Snapper 9098, my brother here and co-host. So we are finally drinking Johnny Walker tonight for the first time this season. So I don't know if I that's my bad and I messed that up, or maybe this is a problem. I don't know. I have not done it.
I am solely putting Marshall on at your doorstep because of that.
What are you talking about? What?
Marshall's totally your fault.
Well, then it's the Johnny show Walker leading up to the Marshall show. All right, so we're going to have to go back and do some editing, and well, maybe not editing, but figure out what did we drink before Marshall, and then we'll go from there.
And you were never having that pregame again.
Yeah, I know. Well, hopefully it wasn't something good, right? So anyway, well, let's get to some people here. Why don't we go jump over to Jay, since he was first on. We'll invite him to speak if he wants to, but if not, that's cool too. He's a supporter of the Etsy store. Maybe Jay could just give us a quick plug here.
I don't know what you mean by giving you a quick plug, but hey, enjoy the podcast. Have all season.
Thank you. I was just saying for your purchase from the store.
Oh, the pint glass.
That's
I
right.
I use it every game day, and even on non-game days, I tend to fill it up. So, yeah.
Did you have said pint glass before the Marshall game?
I don't remember.
I don't think you did. I'd have to go back. I could actually figure this out, but let's say you didn't have it and then you bought it after the Marshall game, and that resolved some.
So Jay's pint glass is where the season turned around. I
think the more people buy stuff from the store, the better Notre Dame football will be. Like this may just happen. So, well, anyway, all right. Enough of plugging the Etsy store. If you want Fighting Irish Faithful gear before Christmas, order it now. Lead time from is about a week. I'll just put it that way. This is not Amazon Prime. We chose not to use Amazon for the store. For personal reasons, and quite frankly, profit margin. So there was actually a financial incentive here. Jay, anything on the hot? We've got a myriad of topics we can talk about. What suits your fancy?
So the thing that confuses me the most right now is, I mean, and I get why Pyne entered the portal, but I really wanted to see him in the bowl game.
Me too.
Just because he's led this offense all season, basically. Nothing against Buckner. I think Buckner's a talent. I think if Buckner had stayed healthy behind the progression of the O-line, he would have flourished as well. But because Pyne was there, got the reps, I really wanted to see him in the bowl game. So I'm not as confident going into this bowl game with Buckner or whoever actually starts the bowl game as I would have been with Pyne.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, and I actually echo a lot of those feelings because, I mean, yes, we didn't win against USC, and we kind of dissected that in the post-game show, but Pyne had one of his best games minus his 2 turnovers on the stat sheet. If we just look at, yards thrown and touchdown passes and completion percentage and things of that nature, he had a very good game, and then, go back to, well, it's Navy, right? So, Navy is Navy, but I mean, Clemson was decent, it wasn't bad, right? Yeah, I'm with you, and the best thing is he brings that X word, experience, okay? And, that's great. When you go from, 81% completion percentage in the Navy game, and an 88% completion percentage against USC, better than Mr. Williams. That says a lot, even in BYU, 78% completion percentage. So, I think people's hesitancy, because like we all know Buckner's talented. He has skills, but we haven't seen it, and he hasn't been healthy, and he sometimes looks frantic running around back there. Grant, there's an element with the O-line here. But I'm with you. Like, I'm kind of disappointed because it's like, I've never not liked Drew Pyne. I've never said, like, bench his ass, he's terrible. Like, I thought that with Dane Christ back in, 2010 and 2011. It's like, this guy should not be playing, period. Okay? My problems with Pyne are more like he's short or he's slow or, he doesn't make good reads or have good vision of who's open on a particular, down and distance situation, whatever. But what is nice is he's got a winning record, and he's in some cases shown improvement. So that's good. But yeah, that's
especially
kind of the thing.
Especially after the do your job game.
It's do your fucking job.
Well, yeah, okay,
Yeah, we needed to create that meme of like, who was it? You were saying, I think Red Snapper, like Reese yelling into a mirror,
Exactly.
Like that scene in Rocky where he's standing in front of the mirror with the picture of Ivan Drago, and and he's got
where is Mike Sloan, Mr. Photoshop?
Oh, I know, he is we should like throw him, some incentives to Photoshop some stuff, and put Reese's face on. We can do something creative.
Instead of the picture of Ivan Drago, it just says "Do your job."
Do your job, yeah. or Tom, or how about like an image of Tommy Reese like walking down the stairs out of the locker room, and instead of saying "play like a champion today," it says "do your fucking job today."
I like it.
I like that one too. I think we should do that.
I like it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if I was more of an authority at work, I would just like, make signs that say "engineer like a champion today" and just like hang it up on the wall, and then be like, "How'd that get there?"
All the Purdue people would be pointing at you like, "We already know." Who that is.
There's like 2 people that came from Notre Dame here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I work with a lot of Purdue fans. The sidebar, funny story, and maybe people didn't see this on Twitter. This is yesterday at work. And I tweeted this out. I'm sitting there, and we had some senior person in, and they were talking to some other people, and they're talking football and stuff. and I work with a lot of Purdue people, and there's concern about their coach going to Louisville because he was at Louisville, was a player there, this, that, and the other. And so it's like, is Braum going to leave Purdue and go to Louisville? And it's like, well, I don't know. Like, he's kind of doing well at Purdue, and that seems like a step down, in my opinion, going from the Big Ten down to, you know, the ACC with Louisville. So that's my opinion. But that being said, these guys are talking about like, oh, this is what Purdue has to do to get better next year. And like, we got to bring this coach in and we got to recruit better like this. And I'm just sitting there like listening to Purdue strategize about like how they're going to get better as a program. I just found so hilarious. And yes, this is Notre Dame arrogance coming out, but I'm just like, what the fuck? I didn't say anything. I just kind of sat there and snickered to myself and then tweeted stuff out. But
Nice.
That's that. Well, Jay makes a very interesting point there about Drew Pyne and being reticent about him. I mean, you know, I think what and this is just me, just because I have a degree from the place and I love Notre Dame. I'm kind of just surprised that he's leaving so early. I mean, maybe that's just the nature of NIL. But Jay, question back to you. Like, are you disappointed that he didn't stay to get his degree, or are you thinking like, you know, he just sees the writing on the wall and he wants to have more of a college career playing football?
So I think it's a little bit of both. And I've always stood by, I'm okay if you transfer once you've gotten your degree. You know, that it makes sense if you don't think you're going to start and you're going to start somewhere else, but get your degree because, I mean, the value in that is exponential over somebody who probably won't make it to the next level.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting point too, because like a case like Malik Zaire potentially, or even Everett Golson, people who have transferred out of Notre Dame, they did it. Grant, you know, these transfer portal situations didn't exist then, but like you said, they had their degree. But I mean, Golson was talented, and if he had cleaned up the turnover and head case garbage, and had been successful at the next program, you know, kind of like I don't know, pick your favorite, you know, transfer quarterback, you know, who is it? Russell Wilson, right? He does a grad transfer thing, and then has a very successful career with the Seahawks when he eventually goes over there. Like Pyne, I don't think has that. He doesn't have the tools in the toolbox, right, to, you know, I think go to the next level. And so to me, it's kind of like, well, maybe it's just playing time, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you're at Notre Dame. Like, you know, he has way more experience. And I would actually argue that Pyne staying with Notre Dame potentially creates an interesting scenario because he's played all these games. Okay. You know, he finished up the Marshall game after the Buckner injury, right? So he's played a solid 10 games this season, and done some fill-in, you know, work last season. He's got way more games and plays and experience under his belt in the Tommy Rees offensive system now under Marcus Freeman than Buckner has. And that says a lot when you go into spring and summer ball, my opinion. Like, and to me, that gives a lot of weight when you have someone that has experience.
I'm completely confused, honestly, why Pyne would get into the transfer portal. It just, to me, I don't see him as somebody who would be earmarked, even if he had, and like you were saying, his stats were good near the end of the season. But even if he had a season next year somewhere else that, you know, blew his stats this year out of the water, do we really see him going in the NFL draft? I don't think we do. And
No.
so having that experience and having that tenure with Tommy Rees, with Marcus Freeman, having the experience as a starter last year and this year, like, it doesn't make any sense why he would, especially not having his degree. Like, I don't see any benefits for him other than potential playing time, but I don't see really anyone challenging the starting job. It's his to lose.
I mean, he's going to have to go down a level as far as a program is concerned. Like if he went to like a Ball State or North Texas or, a school like that. I think that he'd get lots of playing time and do well from a college standpoint. But yeah, like it, and Grant, this is kind of a new situation. This is kind of a, new environment of NIL and transfer portal, right? Where, I don't think we saw this many transfers last year, even if it was allowed. This year it just seems like a fire sale where all these people are declaring. Coupled with that, you have people that just don't even play in the bowl game, which I think is bullshit. Even though, yes, the bowl game doesn't mean anything, but it's like, well, look, I don't know. You got an experience, under your belt, and now you're going to go somewhere else and do what? Other than playing time, that's the only thing I can think of.
Or maybe he goes to a place with an offensive line that's shorter.
That's right.
Now, I've watched plenty of NFL quarterbacks in the last few weeks get their passes batted down too. So, I mean, I don't think you can blame his height on all of those bat downs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean the guys in the NFL are monsters, and they're just technically sound. Excuse me. And yeah, they just the level. I like watching the NFL. I don't do it regularly just because, I don't make enough time for it. But I like watching it because I feel like I'm watching like precision of football at times, either on defense or offense. It's rarely you get both at the same time. But just seeing like the level of talent of players is really fun to watch for me from a football stance. Now, that being said, the energy and the excitement that I get from watching college is nowhere close to the NFL. So that's just me. So, well, Jay, what do you? We'll ask you real quick. I think we'll ask everybody about the bowl game. We're not going to dive too much into South Carolina at all tonight. But yeah, what do you think of this bowl game coming up?
I'm excited for it. So my wife is a Tennessee grad.
Oh.
So.
It's death to the Gamecocks. Nice.
Right. And I was
Having
actually
lived in South Carolina, I know that SEC hatred.
Yep. And I was at the Tennessee game that Peyton Manning got his number retired at, that South Carolina beat Tennessee.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I'm hoping that it's going to be a beatdown for sure. And, yeah, I'm pretty invested in this one. So
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I think one of the first predictions that I saw, I think this was even before the USC game, of where Notre Dame was going to end up. They were predicting Notre Dame versus South Carolina, the Gamecocks there in the Gator Bowl. So hopefully people know what this is. But anyway. But it's kind of funny to see that come full circle. Well, Jay, I really appreciate your contributions tonight. We'll get to a few other people here who are patiently waiting. Any last thoughts?
No, not really. Just go Irish.
That's right. Go Irish. Thank you for joining us. Jay at Jace Spins on the Twitter. Thank you for joining us on the Fighting Irish Faithful show. All right, Red Snapper, I'm going to let you pick. Adam, I see you, but ND Prime or Regisan? Red Snapper, who was first, Regisan or ND Prime?
I wonder if it's pronounced Regisan, or I want to say like he's a fan of Regis Philbin, who is a known Notre Dame
this
person.
This is true. All right, so we've jumped over.
Regisan.
Regisan 42? Regisan.
Regisan. I don't know.
It's actually just pronounced Reggie-san.
Reggie-san. This sounds very Mr. Miyagi. Reggie-san.
I like it.
Reggie-san. Or is that inappropriate? Is that culturally inappropriate?
I don't think
I'm not trying to be inappropriate or funny. I'm just like
if you've ever played the Pokemon games, there's a Pokemon called Reggie Rock. And that's kind of what I based my name off of.
Okay. All right. Reggie-san. I like it. Reggie-san, what do you think of the Gamecocks here?
To be honest, I haven't given it much thought because
Surefire victory. Okay.
I don't know. I'm just more interested in the transfer portal for now. And to be honest, if you couldn't tell by my profile picture, there's a certain Tiger quarterback I want playing for the boys in blue and gold.
Yeah. You're referring to DJ Uiagalelei of Clemson.
Indeed.
And I don't have it open right now, but I want to say he's in the same recruiting class as Bryce Young. Both him and Bryce Young played at rival high schools in Southern California. DJ, and this is something that Red Snapper and I that are a little more familiar with here with our background and our roots here. But yeah, DJ went to St. John Bosco and was the number 2 rated quarterback in his class with Bryce Young, and both went to very respected universities. DJ, of course, came in, and he first saw action, I think during BC when in the year of COVID, when Lawrence was out on COVID protocols, and then of course the 2020 game where Notre Dame knocked off the number 1 team in the country, which was fan-flippin-tastic. Now, what's interesting going forward here is he is kind of in a quarterback battle, and now he's saying, okay, I'm going to transfer. So if it's me reading the signs of who's the most talented quarterback that's out there that is in the mix, hey, maybe he's it, and maybe he lands for the Irish. I don't know.
I hope so, but I know a lot of people want Hudson Card or Devin Leary. And I mean, I'll support whoever Notre Dame gets.
Oh, sure.
If they get a transfer. But I just think off of, like you said, off of pure talent alone, I'd want DJ.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
But, I mean, because, I don't know, I kind of feel bad for him because it just didn't work out for him at Clemson.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the nature of football in general. You got guys that come in that are highly rated in a particular position, and especially something as optically, focused that the quarterback position is. And then these guys come in, but, look, you may not be the best, or you maybe were great in high school, but then, adapting to the college game and the speed and the environment and whatever, and the more complexity of whatever playbook you're in, maybe it just doesn't work out. I don't know. And that's also not to say that, the next guy coming in doesn't do better, or, maybe your O-line was trash, or, pick your favorite reason.
I think Clemson's cupboard was more bare than Alabama's this year. So you had a lot more people leave last year that affected his overall environment, performance, and situation at Clemson, as opposed to Bryce Young's.
Yeah. Yeah, and if he decides to transfer to Notre Dame, now you're looking at DJ, Buckner, and Jelly, and then you've got Minchie coming in as a freshman. So the person I feel really bad for is Angeli, because it's he's just kind of doing his thing, and he looked great in the spring game for what we saw, and. Now he's like, oh, now I got a potential shot. And then it's well, if Notre Dame's going to get a transfer, which I have no problem with from a program standpoint, I think it's what we have to do. But it's well, look at it this way. Alabama, just for year in, year out, they just cycle in the next guy, and he ends up being fantastic. You have to go back quite a few years to find an Alabama quarterback that you're wait, who? What? Who is that? And I think it's Jake Coker from 2015. But like Mac Jones, like was on the bench. You never heard of him, because he was behind Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, and then all of a sudden Mac Jones shows up the next year, and it's just like, wow, look at this guy,
Yeah, and I think that's going to be where the program really gets its depth and really gets its almost professionalism, is next man up mentality, and you've got to have just that first round, second round, third depth, all with the same talent level, all having gone through practice reps, and knowing, okay, next man up.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that helps is Alabama keeps winning, right? Nothing helps recruiting better than just winning. And I think something that Saban has done successfully is convince these very fine athletes that go to Alabama, like, wait your turn, buy your time, you have to put in your dues, and you guys will, be in a fist fight in practice, metaphorically, for the starting job. But it's like, look, this is making you guys better. And so then when you play, Vanderbilt or LSU, or, well, maybe not this year, but you play these other teams, you pound them, right? And then you go potentially to the next level. So I don't know, the transfer portal thing, I'm not against it or anything. I just think I'm not surprised with it because of today's kind of culture of instant gratification, and no one has delayed patience or anything of that nature, and it's like, well, I'm not getting what I like here, I'm going to just transfer. And I think the old rules of you had to sit out for a year, like take Alohi Gilman, right, who was at the Naval Academy, developed by Ken Niumatalolo, but then had to sit out a year, but then he comes in and produces immediately for Notre Dame, right? So
yep.
And that kind of situation is gone now. So, well, Reggie-san, other than Drew Pyne and transfer portal stuff, anything else you want to discuss here, or just that's gonna be the topic?
Not really. Not really. I don't want to keep you all long. My main thing is, as much as an unpopular opinion as it is within the Irish community, I think DJ could be the guy here. Even if not, then at least he could provide competition for Buckner to see how good Buckner really is.
Yes.
But that's really all I got. Also, quick shout out to ND Prime. Thank you for all that you do on Twitter. I can always see the news about what's going on.
Yeah, he's got some good connections there. Yeah, we're going to bring ND Prime on here. Well, why don't we bring him on now, and then you can thank him personally. This is as much as matchmaking as we're ever going to get on this podcast, that's for sure. Now, if you guys, want tickets to the Gator Bowl here, and, I can hook you both up, and, never mind. Awkward? Okay. ND Prime, you there? He's going to just leave. He's just like, what?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you for the words of encouragement. I really appreciate that, and glad that my account is doing good things for people. So just trying to get the news
data
out there.
oriented.
You could say that.
I like your account.
I appreciate it.
I really liked your Big Game Boomer hater tweet.
I hate him so much. It's, I would never want to be him. I'm sorry,
You don't have to apologize. You can speak your mind. I'll pour you a scotch. You can really speak your mind then, right?
I'm the guy who is like, if someone's hating on someone, like, don't give them the engagement then, but yet I'm always telling or commenting or retweeting his stuff saying how bad it is. So, kind of, going against that. But it's just putting yourself on your own list of best media personalities is like, really?
Yeah, this dude, Big Game Boomer. I refuse to follow that dude, and like, I don't have a problem with anyone who wants to follow him, because like, I'm kind of jealous of his graphics that he always throws out, because it's like, wow, it's got all the like colored bars and stuff, and so it's very eye catchy. Between that lists and graphs, hey, I'm an engineer. That's kind of my thing. But at the same time, it's like, where the fuck are you getting this? Like this is like the most unfactually based opinion I have ever seen, other than just I hate Notre Dame.
Exactly. I mean, I'm all those like best game day atmosphere stuff or best team by state stuff, and he
Oh,
would like
the team by state
rarely
is
he
just
would always
trash.
he'd always put Purdue over Notre Dame, and it just annoyed me so much. You can't tell me Purdue would beat us. I'm sorry.
I sometimes think it's just like he's got a random number generator, or he's like playing craps and he's rolling dice, and he's just like, okay, on one side I've got IU, Purdue, Ball State, Butler, Valpo, and Notre Dame, right? And he's just like, I'm gonna roll the dice here, and it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you on crack? Like, what's wrong with you? So, all right, we don't have to give him as much attention that he doesn't deserve. We brought Andy Prime on, and you requested to speak. No, it's okay. We can, we do Brian Kelly hate. We still haven't talked about how much USC sucks and how.
Well, I mean, I'm more concerned about the real USC, and that is the University of South Carolina. So, I mean, So, I like that. Though. I like the sound effects. So, I guess
hopefully you'll get the reference of what that's from. So.
I guess before we do start, though, I guess I'll plug the Irish Tribune, which is a media company that I kind of wanted to extend out from Prime, and it's made up of Notre Dame fans, so it's not corporate minded, and they put out some really good content with that. So I just say check them out. But anyways,
you can plug a corporation. I work for a big company, so whatever.
I work for a big company too, but. I mean,
we don't hate corporations here, but we like the little guy too.
Yeah. So, have we really talked about transfer QBs at all?
We talked a little bit about Drew Pyne transferring out.
Yeah,
Reggie San was given a lot of love to DJ Uyunglele. I'm kind of like, just wait and see, because you've got the Notre Dame requirements of academics, and Marcus Freeman and Coach Reese are going to try to do whatever's best for the program. Whether they bring someone in, and I don't even know how these rules work. Like, do you have to wait till after the bowls? Or, in my opinion, it would be, I think, good for the team or morale or whatever to do it after the bowl game to bring someone in. But I don't know, again, if it's like, hey, DJ, we'll sign you, but we'll do it quietly.
Well,
I don't know how that works, but from a morale chemistry, keep the minds, focused on the Gamecocks here. I would only talk about, the game. I would not talk at all about transferring people in.
Phil, it was announced that Phil Dracovic was transferring to Pitt. So there's no restrictions. That obviously you can't join a program and then play in that bowl game. You have to wait until the next season, obviously. So
sure. Yeah, it's not like
and
trades in the NFL, right?
Yeah. So my thing with Pyne is the only reason Pyne could have possibly transferred before the bowl, because people were reporting the main reason why he transfers is because they said they're going after a transfer QB. So wouldn't you want to play in the bowl game where there's not going to be a transfer QB, and then kind of use that to boost your your resume? Because I think having a really good performance in a bowl game, especially winning,
raises your stock for your transfer stock, right?
So, so I think he left earlier or left before the bowl and is not playing in there is because they gave the job to Buckner. So I've seen mixed things. I've seen So Buckner is good to go because he is like full pads practicing. It's, he may be questionable. I say that with quotes, but I've seen things saying he's the guy. He's going to be starting, and then I've seen another side saying it's between him and Jelly and Ron. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be Buckner, and because it wouldn't make sense for Pyne to transfer well before the bowl. And mind you, I'm pretty sure they're not practicing right now because Freeman's doing a heck of a lot of recruiting. Him and the rest of the staff.
Absolutely.
So I think this is downtime. So it's not like they've been practicing and then they're like, oh, Buckner's the guy. So I think it's always been Buckner's spot. It was just because he was injured that Pyne was the guy to fill in, which I don't agree with. Even if Pyne was fully healthy for the bowl, I would have put Pyne in because he's been leading the team most of the time.
I agree with that.
Buckner won the original starting job, but I mean, you started 10 games.
Unless Pyne comes out and is complete trash against, South Carolina, then we need to bench his ass and we need to put Buckner in. But I'm with you. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Why would you leave now? You've got one more game to play, or unless, like you just said, Buckner, since recovering from his shoulder fuck up, he's now getting the reps with the ones.
Yeah,
and if that's the case, and I'll throw it back to you, then we should feel really good about Notre Dame fans because that means dude, everyone was like, oh, Buckner, and there's wailing and gnashing of teeth. But I keep going back to look, the offensive line was garbage those first couple games, and we were asking Buckner to put the team on his back, and then he throws shitty interceptions because he's frantic and because he knows he can't do everything and just blah, and so if that's the case, then it's wow, we should feel really good about that.
Yeah, and we've so far this season, and I really wouldn't say Buckner last season was playing and we were like, man, he's going to be great. We all knew his potential and we were expecting him to start. But I think just because of his limited playing time last season, we didn't really get to see that. And based on Ohio State and Marshall, Ohio State, we saw a conservative Tyler Buckner, no interceptions, but he's also not taking deep shots. He was playing very conservatively. So that's in the middle with that. And then Marshall was, Marshall. So I think his stock has gone down since that, especially with, especially with injuries, and that's a big red flag. So, but I think I knew that at least one QB was going to transfer this offseason because there's no way, if Buckner were to get benched next, or if Buckner wouldn't be the QB next season, I think he would have transferred, and then what happened with Pyne now. So, and I think with Buckner, because I do think we're going to get a transfer QB, I have a source that I'm not going to confirm it or anything, but they accurately predicted a big Minchie coming to or committing to Notre Dame well before it was announced. And they predicted a specific transfer QB that I'm very excited about. So,
okay. And so you're holding those cards close to you right now.
Yeah, because I don't want to say something in an event because this isn't verified. It's not but it's what they told me.
Okay.
So
this is
I'm
your
prepared
source.
for it.
I feel like this is what is this, the Watergate scandal or? It's the source.
But I don't want to play inside reporters, so I'm just gonna not mention it. But I'm confident enough that
this is a carrot. Hey, follow me on Twitter, right?
Yeah, I have the graphics ready. We have articles at Tribune ready to be posted. That I'm confident in it. But regardless, though, so let's say we get either. Let's say we get. Just gonna throw. Let's say we get someone with 2-3 years eligibility left, and let's say we get a graduate transfer. Two different QB options. If we get the grad transfer, who's going to be there for 1 year. I think Buckner might stick it out, and then, he'll play in 2024.
Sure.
And then he'll be competing with Minchie and Carr, which will be really difficult. Or if we get if we get a transfer QB that's 2 to 3 years, I think Buckner transfers because that player is going to be there for 2 years. And it's the same thing with Jack Cohen. When he got here, Kelly promised him that spot. And unless he was absolutely horrible or anything, he said, "Hey, transfer to Notre Dame. You're going to be our starting. You're going to be our guy." And that's why Cohen wasn't going to transfer just to lose the spot. Really, it was his spot to lose. And I think Freeman and Reese are going to go the same way about that with a transfer QB right now. Is they're going to say, "Hey, it's your spot to lose right now." So I think if we bring in a transfer QB, they will be starting. I'd be willing to bet on that. And if it's a guy who's going to be here multiple years, Buckner transfers. If it's a 1 year, then I think Buckner might stay and compete. But then you have to kind of balance your weigh your options, because would Buckner only get that 2024 time to really start and prove himself, or is it going to be too late?
I think of the quarterback room as, we want to have the best of the best of talent, and good guys. And like if I may draw a parallel to our running back situation, where you've got Estime, Diggs, Tyree, and then you got Price there, who's going to hopefully be coming back from his injury in the spring and be ready to go next fall. Those four guys, those are, quote, good problems. When we're like arguing, like, why is Estime not in, or Tyree should be doing more slot receiver stuff, just because we got to get him the ball, these are good problems, quote unquote, to have. Is like, we have all these running backs, they're all so good, we have to use them. You can't do that with the quarterback. But simultaneously, it's like, well, good teams tend to have good backups that could have started at, some ACC school, or, a lower level, Big Ten school their freshman year, right? But then, they're sitting on the bench, and they're at a, some power top 10 SEC school or whatever. And it's like, there it is, and Alabama's a good example of that, right? So that is a quote unquote problem we want to have as Notre Dame fans. It's like, oh, look at all these great quarterbacks we have in the quarterback room, and it's like, someone's going to transfer because they're getting impatient or whatever it is, and it's like, honestly, if those are our problems as Notre Dame fans, sign me up, man. Sign me up. I'm going to make camp on this tent, with this tent on this mountain.
Yeah. Can I actually? Did you see the thing about Jaden Lemar?
Negative.
Running back. What? You haven't?
Negative.
I believe.
Is he awesome?
My tweet. He is awesome, but there is some concern around it. Justin Hopkins is a inside reporter of On3, specifically for University of Oregon, and he put in a prediction, a pretty high one, I think it's like 70%, for Jaden Lemar to flip to Oregon. So I posted that, and then I've had a lot of people DM me and stuff on Twitter and Instagram about it, and there is a overwhelming majority of people who, I don't want to say don't care, but almost have that we don't need him mentality, or it doesn't affect us, which that's true. I think running back is our strongest position of any position. It's full of depth and great talent.
And he is a recruit in this next recruiting class. He's committed verbally, running back, 5'11", out of from Lake Stevens, Washington.
And Freeman and Dylan met with him yesterday. So, it's take it with a grain of salt. On3 is On3. People feel differently about that. But, it's still worthy of being reported. But let's say it is legitimate and there is a shot. I never want someone to leave the class unless they did something where they shouldn't be or don't align with the university's values or they're not really that good or anything. Because competition is the greatest thing that makes good players great.
Sure,
100%.
absolutely.
Steel sharpens steel.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can make the argument but there's plenty of other competition, or are you really going to let, a player, come here just to compete knowing they're going to transfer something? We don't know if Jalen Lemar is going to be the best running back on the entire team. It could be Jeremiah Love, it could be Estime, it could be Price, it could be any of these people. But you don't know
Dylan
until
Edwards.
they practice. Exactly. And you don't know until they practice, and you don't know until you see it on the field. So
and not everyone makes it at Notre Dame,
Exactly. So I know
it's not an easy place to go to school.
I already know with how many running backs there are currently on the team and in the 23 class. It's bound that I would say if no one flips or decommits or anything, I would say two running backs transfer. So, and I honestly thought Diggs might have, but Diggs is really emerging as a leader of the team.
And he's gotten the starting job, I think, or starting nod, excuse me, in almost every single game this season, right?
The carries have kind of differentiated. I can pull it. I'm pretty sure. Well, Estimate leads us in yards.
Oh yeah.
So,
and touchdowns.
So I'm just gonna pull up the stats real quick just to see.
This. He's providing his own stats to the show. Anyone who's new, OC and Robert, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. This is we're not sponsored. We haven't sold out. Although if Johnny Walker wants to sponsor the podcast, that'd be tight. But we are powered by Scotch first, then Spreadsheets. So, and here we got Drew Pyne bringing in his own stats here. Normally, I'm a little stat light, although I do have kind of a fun. It's kind of a stat, but it's got some good stuff here.
I'm guilty of letting stats get to me rather than the film or the tape. So
you can't lie with numbers. Okay.
Yeah. So watching Minchie's highlights thus far, he's got an absolute cannon of an arm. So I should be more favorable of film, but the stats. You can make the argument stats don't lie, but nonetheless,
they don't lie. When have stats lied? Unless the information powering the publication is a lie. But now I'm like, this is Big Brother 1984 shit. So
let's not fall off the deep end, please.
What are you talking about? We're not going crazy here. I don't have my tinfoil with me today.
So, Diggs did lead the team in carries. He beat Esme by 10 carries. However, though, Esme has almost 100 yards more than him. There's a 7. Esme had 825. Diggs had 732. And then Esme had 11 touchdowns. Diggs only had 3, which is tied with Tyree. So it was. I would definitely say it was split between. I would say I don't know. I'm not good with the numbers all the time. 65% of the carries were between Esme and Diggs, and the rest was Tyree. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Probably not.
So I've got. I don't know. I'm not breaking down the numbers here, but I guess we could do for the whole team here. What I will say is the number one most important rushing stat is rushing touchdowns, and in this particular arena, there's no contest because Estime has 11 on the season. The next closest guy, both Logan Diggs and Tyree combined, are barely over half. They have 3 apiece as far as rushing touchdowns is concerned. So
Tyree accounted for less than 25% of total snaps by the running backs. So, and I, he even throw Payne in there. He only had 2 attempts, so it was really just the Tyree Diggs and Estimate show. But, you know, do we think Tyree hasn't lived up to expectations so far? I mean, he was great. I thought he was the guy when we saw him in 2020 as a freshman.
Well, and the thing is, like, he's competing in a system, where we really only have one running back on the field at the same time, and to me that seems kind of stupid. Again, yes, if anyone's new to the show, #RTDB, run the damn ball. That is my preference as a fan, but at the same time, I also understand that, like, look. What do we have that's the strength of this team, especially on offense? It's the fucking running back room, okay? So put at least 2 guys out there at all time. That's my opinion, because it's like, look, you've got to feature your best players. You got to give them the rock, and they can carry that ball across the line.
And the last time we had, like, a primary running back where it wasn't, like, really split carries was 2018 with Dexter Williams, but obviously, Josh Adams was incredible in 2015 through 2017. But, and then, 29, I hated it in 2019. I hated it so much that we split carries with, Tony Jones and, Smith, and it was majority Tony Jones, but I don't know. I just wasn't rushing game wasn't strong that year. If you go to 2020, Kyron Williams really took over, but Tyree still had 500 yards with that, and Sebo had 300. And then last year it was the Logan Diggs show right behind Williams. So I mean, I prefer having one primary back because then they have good stats, hence typically leads to higher draft stock. But having like a 3-headed monster type of deal like we do right now is more efficient, I would say. But I prefer having one.
Oh, you said 3-headed monster. We got a drink. That's a cue. We got a drink.
Really?
Well, you watch an NBC game. Oh man,
ESPN started doing it too.
I know.
I think I was even listening to Fox, and I think Brady Quinn even said it, and I was like, "Son of a bitch!" So.
I'm telling you, everybody that got coined. Dang you, Garrett! But yeah.
Yeah. What is? Oh, you know what we should? We need to ask Mike Sloan to do. Go back to the old Godzilla movies. What's the 3-headed monster that shoots lightning that flies like Rodira or something? We need to put our running backs on the dragon, and there's a 3-headed monster. Dude, I might do this myself. Sorry, Mike Sloan. I'll screw work. I'm just gonna do this tomorrow at work. Yes. 3-headed monster. Sorry, ND Prime. You got distracted.
No, it's all good. I was just reading on something.
That's how the
Jane
show
Lemar.
goes.
I guess Brian Driscoll.
This is the weird off season between a game. Like we're kind of dicking around right now on this podcast. I mean, let's face it, right? We're not playing the Gamecocks right away. Going on, next week or this Saturday, right? Well, actually, it's Friday is the next bowl game, but you guys get my point, right? We got 24 days and still the game. Like, what are we going to talk about? All this other fun stuff. So, anyway, sorry, cut everyone off.
Ghidorah.
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 Yes. That's right. I wasn't that far off. We're talking about Japanese monster movies here, and people are just like, okay, what the hell is this podcast? No, seriously, it's a 3-headed monster. Drink. Everyone raise a glass.
Cheers. I'll hand the stage off to someone else. I do gotta get going pretty soon, but I mean, yeah, with the portal and everything, and I've seen a lot of people saying expect about 10 Notre Dame guys enter the portal this season. I thought we had a lot in the past, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just excited all around for the transfer QB and just how we're gonna look next year. So I mean, Freeman's doing a heck of a job.
Yeah, and I mean, when these guys enter the transfer portal, I really hope they know what they're doing. I wish them well. I never want to be, a douchebag or whatever, and say like, good riddance, like okay, maybe a few people, but for the most part, like Drew Pyne, I think has been a loyal foot soldier, and I wish him the best in his career. I think it's kind of odd the timing. And it's like, well, like, does he really think he's going to get to the next level? I don't know. Again, I can't answer that question. But if Notre Dame is going to get a transfer quarterback, then it would make more sense. But if Notre Dame doesn't get a transfer quarterback, because there's been nothing official other than potentially ND Prime's source here, or I've heard some things. I'll just put it that way. Like you never know. And again, a good problem to have is a stacked and loaded quarterback room. Okay, no player on the field, at least from the offensive standpoint, can be more impactful or detrimental to your offense than the quarterback, and that's a fact. Well, ND Prime, really appreciate you joining us at Notre Dame _Prime on the Twitter. Appreciate your contribution, and welcome back to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show with your inside scoop and bringing some stats tonight. We kind of jumped off with
it.
Yeah, no problem, Matt. You're welcome here anytime, and everyone is welcome anytime. Well, not everybody. We've had a few assholes that have jumped on the show, so we don't invite them, or we just ignore them. But
haters gonna hate. That's what I'll say. So
yeah, they hate us because they ain't us, right? And we can kind of be a little more free and casual on this show because we do this in our spare time and for fun, and I am not credentialed media. I'm just a dude with a normal job, mortgage, car payment, a wife, and a baby sleeping upstairs, right? And I love Notre Dame. I'm a graduate of Notre Dame from their grad school, and it's like, hey, I can talk creatively about this football team I love. So let's jump over real quick back to Regisan. Anything else?
Y'all a good one now.
Yeah, thank you, ND Prime.
Take care.
Reggie-san, I feel like we kind of cut you off here. We'll give you any last thoughts here.
Oh, no, I'm good.
You all good? You just listening. Awesome. All right, Reggie-san, thank you so much. Mark it down. I see you there, but let's see if we can jump over to someone who's been hanging out. OC at OC541288. If you want to join, that's cool. You don't have to jump off, though, if you don't want to. If you just want to listen, you just want to hang out, that's cool. But OC, O hyphens? No, that's not a hyphen. That's an apostrophe. Invited to speak. If you wish to join the Fighting Irish Faithful Show and talk Notre Dame football with other Notre Dame fans, this is a casual place. We sound sometimes intimidating. We're the loud table at the bar, right? If you walked into a Buffalo Wild Wings or a Hooters or pick your favorite wing place, all right, and you saw this loud group of people, drinking and having a hot wing eating contest, that sounds kind of intimidating, but honestly, like, we'd like invite you to join us in the fun. So OC, if you wish to join us. If not, that's cool. Oh, dropped off. All right, mark it down. Family, Holzum 35. Mark it down. Jump on. Bring us back. So Brian Kelly and LSU lost back-to-back games. That was great. Invited to speak. Holzum 35. You there?
I love that he got so close and then back to reality. There's the Brian Kelly.
Dude, they got smoked by Georgia. It wasn't even close. And the game against Texas A&M wasn't, like, at the end of the day, like, it wasn't really that close, in my opinion. I don't know. Well, as we wait for Holsum 35 to jump on, Red Snapper, there's one thing I wanted to talk about here with our people, and it's about the fact that Notre Dame owns the ACC. Truth or a lie, should Notre Dame be the ACC champions of 2022?
I would say truth, because we beat both the teams that played in the ACC championship.
Exactly. And we beat them handily, soundly, a firm ass beating of the Tigers of Clemson and the Tar Heel Goat, whatever they are, of North Carolina down in Chapel Hill.
They just Tar Heels. That's all they is.
What's that a reference to?
Nothing. That's just me.
Is that how people talk in North Carolina?
Pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, you lived in South Carolina, so I don't know if there's some like weird feud between the two Carolinas here, but
you're very quick to identify yourself as you're from Carolina, and then you define, are you North or South Carolina?
Oh, okay, all right.
So
I haven't heard your Carolina accent in a while because you don't live there no more, but
exactly. I can pull it back every once in a while, but it was funny that I did pick it up when I was down there. That's for sure.
Well, sure. I mean, it's really funny. Like, I used to have a supplier. This is years ago. That was in Boston, and there were a few individuals that worked at this company that I was visiting. Good people, but they had very thick Boston accents. And one dude would like kind of lives like in South Boston. I don't know if he was Irish, but like. And so, like, you know, he's talking about, like, we've been making these pots for decades, you know, and it's just like, oh, my gosh, like, and I still use that line at work. And then, but then I come back and I'm, like, talking about, like, the Haba and, like, just, like we're from Boston. And my wife's like, you've been there, like, 3 days. What's wrong with you? Okay, back to this. And Notre Dame beat Boston College, so hooray. So... okay, Notre Dame owns the ACC. Not only do we beat both Clemson and North Carolina, but this is not anything new, and this year further cements the fact that if we were to join a conference and join the ACC, I think our chances are pretty good of owning said conference. Now, we'll jump to the conference thing in a few minutes, but what I do want to say is, Red Snapper, do you know the last time Notre Dame lost, and can you name the last time Notre Dame lost a regular season game versus an ACC opponent? I'm not talking playoffs. I'm not talking the Clemson game in 2020.
A regular season game that we lost to the
an ACC opponent.
Oy. I would want to say, I couldn't tell you who, but my guess would be Miami.
Yeah.
But
keep going. You got it. That's who it is. So you've answered the question. It is Miami. Do you know what year?
God.
All right. Think of it this way: the most painful Miami memory you can think of in recent years. 2017.
Yep.
Notre Dame got their ass kicked. That was during the era of 33 trucking. Notre Dame got smoked in the face, 41-8. Now we're not saying this to bring up painful memories and make people reach for the Johnny Walker, even though I am right now. What I will say is this: that was the last time Notre Dame lost a regular season game. That was in 2017, Red Snapper. Since then, we have won every single game versus ACC opponents. Now, since Notre Dame, I guess, joined sort of the ACC, which was really the 2014 season, do you know how many losses we have had in the regular season versus ACC opponents, including that Miami game?
Maybe including playoffs and bowl games?
No, just regular season.
Maybe 3?
Not that few. That would be awesome. Now, if you take away 2016, yes, you would be correct. Notre Dame has lost 6 games total out of 44 total games against ACC opponents since 2014. Notre Dame has a winning percentage versus the ACC in the regular season of 86%. This is the stat. This is the stat piece of the week here. Notre Dame owns the ACC, an 86% win percentage. Okay, that's a win percentage better than Lou Holtz, right? You know, he had like a 75% win percentage, right? It's not as good as Newt Rockne, who I think is like 886 or something. But anyway, those losses are 2014 Florida State, the game that we won't discuss more. Another close loss at Clemson in 2015. We've already mentioned the Miami game from 2017, and then 3 losses in 2016, Duke, NC State, and Vodtech, all 3 bad. And 2016 as a whole was bad. So if you just get rid of that season, you know, it'd be totally better. So now here's the fun piece. Marcus Freeman, as the head coach of Notre Dame, is 100% win percentage versus the ACC. Yeah, buddy. There it is.
Yeah, I like it. It's encouraging of things to come. And with how literally highs and lows of this season, the biggest testament to it is, you know, it's a first season, and we finished with some great highs. We had some low lows, but can we end the year with the bowl game on a very high note? And ironically, what are we talking about again? Who's the quarterback?
Who's the quarterback? Well, that's kind of easy fodder for the podcast. Like, oh, let's just talk offensive stats and the quarterback situation, you know, and then.
But it's true.
Blame the coach for everything else.
Well, it is true though, because who touches the ball and has, like you yourselves just said, who has the biggest impact on the success or failure of a team? The quarterback. So of course we're going to bring that up.
Yeah. Well, and then under the circumstances with, you know, the Pyne departure and entering the transfer portal and whatnot, you know, it's like, wow, you know, this is kind of crazy. It's like, I wasn't expecting this. So, yeah.
Well,
so.
will we be able to resurrect the Buck Wild package? Are we going to see
I hope so. That's what it looks like right now.
I think Prime was right in saying that, you know, we will more than likely see Buckner, and then from that point, you know, Reggie-san definitely agree that, you know, with Pyne going so early, which, like, I will re-echo that same sentiment, does not make any sense. No, he should, even if it's his farewell, he has every reason to play well and increase his stock if he is going somewhere, which without his degree, I really don't understand the reasoning behind it, because I don't get what he gains.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if I take Notre Dame football away from it and I just think of, like, in terms of him, the only thing that comes up is playing time. That's it. And it's like, and don't get me wrong, like, if you're an athlete, you want to play in the sport that you like, and you can't ever get to the next level if you don't play. So I'm with you there.
Where is Pyne from again?
He's from Connecticut.
So does he go back toward that way and end up at, like, Syracuse?
Where, like, fucking UConn? Well, see, that's the thing. It's like. Would you rather be a starter at a shitty-ass program, or would you rather be a backup on a winning program?
Well, again, it depends. And that's the thing. Is Pyne even the backup? Like,
exactly. And that was my point from earlier. It's like, wait a second. This dude has like almost an order of magnitude more games experience than Buckner. That means something. It really does. And people are going to poo-poo that. And I'm not saying that I want Pyne to be the quarterback next season. That's not what I'm saying. That's up for the coaches to decide. They're getting paid the fuck ton of money to make these decisions and do these evaluations. I'm not a coach. I'm just some dude drinking Johnny Walker running a podcast here. But what I will say is experience matters. It really matters.
I agree, and I don't see what is running him off.
It was
Okay,
like
great.
in the start of
Tyler Buchner's
2011.
healthy.
In 2011, and I'll throw it back to you, Red Snapper. In 2011, we started the season against the fucking South Florida game. Anyone wants to, go into, shock and roll their eyes. That game was terrible. Okay, but who was the starter coming out in that game? Okay, it was Dane Christ. And then mid-game, I don't even think it was mid-game, second quarter, first quarter, whatever, Kelly pulls his ass and puts Reese in. And I said in the offseason, I was like, put Reese in as the start. Why? Because ever since, Dane Christ, broke his leg in the fucking Tulsa game, okay, and then Reese comes in, his first full game as a starter was against Utah, a team we were supposed to lose to, and that was the turning point in that season. We beat Utah, we beat SC, we beat the shit out of Miami, which was awesome, okay? And then we roll into the South Florida game with Chris, and it's like, why? It's like you've got Reese and he's doing good, and then you got Golson, who is much better. Like, I think the Pyne situation is very similar to the Reese-Golson dichotomy, right? You've got Buckner, who's very athletic, quick on his feet, kind of happy feet, right? That's Golson. Okay? Then you've got Pyne, who's kind of a little more, got a little peach fuzz, right? And then actually has got way more peach fuzz than Coach Reese ever had, even to this day. It's true. And then you've got Reese, as like the backup, and then he's kind of like the closer against Purdue and Pitt and all these other games that we shouldn't be in close games in 2012. But you guys get my point. Like, that there is a place potentially for Pyne on Notre Dame, but not anymore now that he's transferred. I don't know.
Yeah, and
it's a really interesting situation. It's real. I've never seen this. Like, you're about to go to a bowl game and you see people leaving. Like I don't want this to happen, but I haven't seen anything about. And if someone knows this, by all means, jump on. Like, is Mayer playing in the bowl game? I hope so.
Nobody has said he hasn't.
No one's. I haven't seen anything that he hasn't. And this is, he's going to go first round, top 10 potentially, right? Wow, and then you've got bad podcast. Who's Isaiah Foskey? Gee whiz, what's wrong with me? Foskey, okay, he's kind of a little banged up. Like, is he gonna be in for the bowl game? I don't know, right? A lot of people are like, oh, well, look what happened to Jalen Smith, and I'm like, and I have to go on this rant. So look, I understand the quote business decision to save yourself for the NFL draft if you're going to be, make lots of money.
Hamilton.
I understand that. Okay. Here's my problem. I don't give two shits about that. I don't care. I am a Notre Dame fan. This is a Notre Dame football podcast. On Saturday morning, I'm turning on my TV. What's the quote from Rudy? Like, we only watch one team in this house. Now, I'm not that strict like Rudy's dad was in the movie. But what I will say is this. I care about Notre Dame football. The NFL, like, yes, I want people to be successful, and it's kind of cool that Quentin Nelson plays for the Colts here in town, here in Indianapolis. But it's like, other than that, it's like, oh, like the what was it? The Bengals game was on, and I'm like, oh, what's the deal with Tyler Eifert? Does he even play anymore? I don't even, these are like things that come to my mind. And it's like, look, I want Notre Dame players to be successful in the NFL and in life when they leave the university. But what makes me tick is what happens when they're wearing the gold helmet. I don't give two shits about what happens to their career. I really don't. I want them to be successful. I don't wish bad on them. But I am a Notre Dame football fan. And furthermore, and this is what really ticked me off about the Hamilton and even Kyron Williams situation. Yes, they were great players and they went to the NFL or whatever. But here's the thing. You guys are fucking captains. You're supposed to be a leader on this football team. what does that say about your leadership when you get to the end of the season and you say, you know what, sayonara, I'm going to go work out in the weight room and work on my 40 time and still go to class. I don't even know if they go to class anymore. They should. Otherwise, they should be expelled, quite frankly. But seriously, I don't care about these guys when they go to the NFL. Because I don't invest time in the NFL. I really don't. I don't run fantasy a team. I have to I'm actually surprised to see that like the Eagles are doing really well or whatever, and the Colts are so bad. I was shocked to see that the Texans have only won like one game. It's like weird shit like that. It's like, oh, that's kind of weird, so and what's really weird is like, why are the Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions, have like 3 wins? What the hell?
Yeah, injuries. Everyone's out. It's kind of crazy.
It's weird. And so like this is like the most NFL talk we've ever had on this podcast. But my point is like, I don't want Mayer to not play in the bowl game for some quote unquote risk that he's going to get injured. And it's like, well, if that's the case, then why even play games? Why did he not quit midseason right after the BYU game, for example? Right? Like, or Isaiah Foskey after he blocked, all those punts against, Boston College or whatever. And it's just like, yeah, he could just sit out the rest of the season because he knows he's going to get drafted.
Yeah, as soon as Foskey gets the single season sack record, okay, that's it.
I'm done. No, I would like to think that you're a valuable teammate. You have an understanding of what leadership actually is.
And maybe that's the difference between this year's captains and last year's captains.
Or this year's head coach and last year's head coach. I don't know the answer.
There you go.
Hey, yeah, we'll throw it back to Marcus Freeman. Who knows, right? This is the kind of shit that drove me up the wall last year. And if anyone wants to go back and listen to that, I had a good rant about this, breaking this down a lot more eloquently than I am doing tonight with respect to Kyle Hamilton, who was one of my favorite players. But as soon as he decided, I'm healthy, but I'm not going to play in the bowl game, it's like, well, that's fucking bullshit, And don't get me wrong, if someone is seriously injured and is unfit to play, they shouldn't play. I'm not that asshole that says play hurt, rub some dirt on it. No, that's not my style. Okay. Okay. All right. Changing gears.
What I like about the overall perspective is that I don't see Notre Dame being very much a seller when it comes to the transfer portal, meaning people are jumping out. I think it's going to be rare. I think Pyne is a rarity. I don't see a lot of people leaving. Weird. And I think it is the bigger picture of Notre Dame. I think people will transfer to come to Notre Dame, even with the stricter academic standards and everything else, because of the 4-year decision mentality, but also the attraction of what the team is becoming. The recruiting class, the now record for the 2022 season that is Marcus Freeman's inaugural season with Notre Dame as a winning season. And now he gets a full season under his belt to right the very first wrong he had, which was the bowl game loss. Yeah. I think the mentality that he brings as a coach and everything we started with, I think he has that mentality. And I think we hopefully see that, mirrored and transferred through his captains. And, the overall mentality, maybe Pyne is leaving because it always has been Buckner's job. Maybe there are already confirmed comments in the locker room about a transfer coming in, whether it's a grad transfer or somebody with 3 years, eligibility. Maybe it is somebody we've mentioned. Maybe it's somebody way off the wall that we don't know about that's coming in. But at the end of the day, for Pyne to make the decision to leave, that means he's part of that same group that decided, I'm not going to play in the bowl game, because he's deciding the exact same thing. And it really almost echoes back something weeks ago when Mayer said that they had cultural issues in the locker room. That there just was not a solid team, and the camaraderie was not cohesive. And I think it was Kevin Davis who brought it up on the podcast that week. But that to me was very telling. And if your quarterback, your starting quarterback, is one of those people that has not bought into the system, has the same old school mentality from the previous coach, the previous regime, and the previous captains, then maybe it really does say something to the culture that this team embattled through. And maybe the highs and lows that we went through were very much those highs and lows and ebbs and flows of the locker room and the team.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of interesting. Like it makes you kind of wonder how much of that, potential, discontinuity in the locker room impacts, this USC game. Now, Grant, I think there was a few other factors going on with USC. But yeah, I mean, I remember what you were talking about with respect to Mayer, in the locker room kind of environment, and it's like, this is not, we're not all on the same page, right?
Exactly.
And so if the starting quarterback is not, on board, gosh, man, that's really tough. What I will say is, I was thinking of like teams that kind of have their act together, and of course we're going to go to the city on the hill here in Alabama. Saban's first year when he took over the Crimson Tide, he was 2-6, and he kind of took over midseason. I don't really remember that. I mean, that was 2007, right? That was a it was a 3-9 Notre Dame year. That was not a good year. But since then, do you know like how many times Saban has had 3 losses? He's only had it once, and that was in 2010. Bookended by national championships in 2009 and 2011. He has never gone 3 losses since 2010. That's amazing. There is some secret sauce going on over there at Alabama, and it's not just money or boosters or some. No, they're like, because Alabama was trash before they hired Saban, quite frankly. And
I think that's where the intangibles come in. I think that's building the culture.
We will not see a coach and I remember this on an older podcast. Like what Newt Rockne was to Notre Dame back in the day of bringing up the game of college football. Saban is to Alabama today. Well, he's that to Alabama, but he's that today to college football, right?
Oh, like John Wooden was to basketball in UCLA.
Exactly. I mean, the fact that Alabama has won all of these games, and
it's
only
always in.
And what's really weird about it?
What did you think about his almost like campaigning for Alabama to be in the playoff this year?
Yeah, that I think is interesting. I have 2 opinions of that. Number one, and this is not my real opinion, but there's a head coach who's standing up for his players and wants them to buy in for an opportunity at a national championship. He knows that his team is better than what happened and that 2 games got away from him. And let us not forget, these 2 losses to LSU and to Tennessee were very close games. Okay, it's not like they got blown out by some random opponent. No, like they lost close games on the scoreboard. What's really interesting is Alabama's only gone undefeated twice the whole time that they've been under Saban, which is really interesting. 2009 and 2020. That being said, though, what I really think is going on is like, look, Saban, man, look, you've got 2 losses, and win percentage and record does need to mean something. Okay, it really does. Like, you can argue strength of schedule and some of this other stuff. And what's kind of interesting is I got Sagarin up right now, right? Sagarin has Georgia number 1, then Ohio State number 2, then Alabama, then Michigan. Michigan's 4th, right? TCU per Sagarin is 10th, which I think is kind of interesting. But again, Sagarin's all math, right?
Yeah.
Now, but that's recently because Kansas State is number 9 because head to head they beat him, right? You know, and Kansas State actually has a better strength of schedule than TCU technically, 4th versus 13th. Okay. Texas is 3rd if anyone cares. Notre Dame per Sagarin is 17, right? So, and then South Carolina is 37. So.
Cuckoo-ca-cha! Cuckoo-ca-cha!
All right, so that's the Gamecocks there. So the gosh, you know, with Saban coming out and saying that his team deserves to be in the playoffs, like, and again, got no problem with that. But here's the problem, dude. You've got 2 losses. Every team above you that's in the playoffs and does deserve to be there has 1 or 0. It's like how do you argue that? You really can't. You really can't. Like other than why the fuck are we playing games? That's my opinion. I don't know.
No.
It's like USC. Like USC could make the same thing. Well, we lost, but only to 1 team, but twice. You know, it's like, well, okay. And that's another interesting piece. Like, so you've got. I saw multiple things on Twitter where everyone was like, well, it looks like these playoff, rankings, and then, you have conference championships, which in the future are going to be almost a requirement for the top 4 teams, right? You've got a situation where USC, if they had won, would have been in the playoffs. But they lost to Utah, and so they're out. But I think it's also a function, they had 2 losses, right? And I think if you went and argued, like, well, who's the better team, USC or Alabama, I think people are going to vote Alabama. Maybe don't ask Notre Dame fans to vote for this because we hate the Trojans, but...
No, agreed.
But, I mean, USC isn't even in the top 10 on Sagarin. They're number 14, right? They're behind Washington in Sagarin. Figure that shit out, okay? Oregon and Clemson are ahead of them, right? 2 other Pac-12 teams, or 3 if you include Utah, are in front of them, and per Sagarin. So that I think is an interesting wrinkle. But I mean, USC sucks. I was so happy to see that Utah beat them again in Vegas. So wonderful. And to see them get snubbed out of the playoffs, it's great. Now, what I think is bullshit is they put them in the... Well, and it's bullshit and it makes sense. It's like, yes, Utah deserves to go to the Rose Bowl and play Penn State, right? No argument there. But what I will say is you've got USC then going as like an at-large team to the Fiesta Bowl. Okay. But then they're playing fucking Tulane. Like, really? You're going to put Tulane against USC? I just thought that was kind of shitty. I don't know. It's like where else would you put Tulane? Like, I don't know. Nowhere else, I don't know.
No, agreed. I mean, if they're going to give them the Fiesta Bowl a little bit more fireworks other than Tulane would have made sense. I mean, hell. You could have put in Iowa or Iowa State there, and it would have looked better.
Right, exactly, yeah.
I mean, hell, put Marshall there. That would look better.
Nah, I don't know about Marshall, but yeah, no, I mean, Tulane's had a good record here, but I mean, Sagarin puts them at 31 ranking in the country. Like Arkansas 6-6 is better ranked because they have a strength of schedule of 22. Tulane has a strength of schedule of 73.
Ooh.
But Tulane is 11-2, right? So from a win-loss percentage, like what I'm happy to see with not only this 14 playoff situation, but then also with how the Bulls kind of shaped up, it's like, yeah, this makes sense because record actually matters, right? Notre Dame is 8-4. We don't deserve a sexy bowl game, right? And we're playing another 8-4 team, right, from the SEC. Makes sense. Now, I was hoping that Notre Dame would play Boise State, but because of this weird ACC alliance, it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. So Notre Dame, play Boise State. Get on it, right? Play them in Denver. Or maybe Notre Dame schedules something against Colorado now that Deion Sanders is taking over for Colorado. We haven't talked about that yet, but that's kind of cool. And you know what that says? That says that Colorado wants to turn the corner and get back to where Colorado used to be in the late 80s, early 90s. That's what that absolutely says. I remember when Colorado was awesome, and they run out with the bison.
Like I expect Colorado in the next 2 years. I mean, heck, check the transfer portal in a couple weeks and see how many people end up going to Colorado.
Who's your head coach, Deion Sanders? Fuck, really? Of any college coach, no better coach had was successful as a player, right?
Well, and look at what he himself has done for himself in any kind of concept of name, image, and likeness. You automatically buy in. Right? He flat out told
he made scarves look cool, right? Yeah. Or maybe headbands.
He's going to have a renaissance at Colorado.
I kind of hope so because that was kind of a good back and forth with Notre Dame, for a few years there. And, I would love to see Notre Dame and Colorado play again, I would prefer Boise State and Oregon more, but that's just me. But no, I think that's great, I had to go back and look at the research on Deion Sanders. Like, where the fuck did he go to college? And he went to Florida State, believe it or not, right? So
yes, he did.
So like I had to look that up. Gee whiz, So I think that's really brilliant of Colorado to hire him. I think that'll be something we'll have our eye on. He's stepping up from where he was previous. And he's going to come up to the Pac-12, right?
Yep.